Hi, thank you to be on this video. We talked to Peter and we created a really amazing podcast that's highly insightful, and I'm sure many people are gonna enjoy out of it, enjoy the experiences of our conversations and the insights that Peter gave. If you have not listened to that podcast, there's a link below. You should listen to that podcast first and then come to this case study. This case study has potential gold mine for people who want to get into the world of branding. It may be brand designers, it may be brand marketeers. It is for entrepreneurs as well, the ones who want to create amazing brands out of their companies. And this is a great insight. Now, our team has looked at the whole video and we have learned a lot out of it. And we hope that you're gonna learn a lot out of it as well. Please go on and enjoy it completely. Enjoy how the master goes through his thoughts about all these businesses and how everything is created. So please go on. Thank you.
No, so the presentation is all about brand building. So it kind of goes through all of the fundamentals around brand building. It basically goes into a bit more detail around how design plays a critical role in brand building. You know what brand identity is. I touch on some successful brand identities, and there is a kind of case study on Apple. Well, there was more. It's more the case study on Sony PlayStation, to be honest. But I do touch on Apple, as we have just now. Hi there, guys. So my name is Peter Allinson, and I've been asked to come and talk about brand building. So just a little bit about myself. I'm an experienced creative leader, art director, and multidisciplined designer working across design, branding, and advertising. I've worked with some pretty big name clients in the past, including BBC, Diageo, Disney, Netflix, Sony PlayStation, UKTV, and Warner Brothers. And at home, I'm a husband and a dad to two boys. And here's just a quick overview of some of the work that I've done fairly recently. A lot of the work is in the world of TV with UKTV, but there are other projects from my past with Sony PlayStation and Disney. But we're here to talk about brand building. And there's a lot to go into for brand building. So this is just scratching the surface. But brand building is the process of creating and enhancing a brand's identity, reputation, and recognition in the minds of consumers. It's aimed at shaping the way a brand is perceived by its target audience. So effective brand building helps to establish a strong and positive brand image, which can lead to increased customer loyalty, trust, and ultimately business success. So there's a lot of elements involved with brand building. And like I say, this is just scratching the surface, but here are some key elements and strategies that are involved in brand building. And the first one is brand identity. And this includes elements like the brand name, the logo, color palette, typography, and any additional design elements. And the really important thing for brand identity is that consistency is in these visual aspects helps consumers recognize and remember the brand. So the brand identity is important and the consistency of use is also important. So this is a good example in Netflix, where they obviously have, their bold red logo. They also have their bold red lettermark that they use across their content. But, if you break it down to its brand identity, it's essentially, a logo or a symbol, this distinctive color palette where they use red and black very strongly, typography, and then the use of bespoke icons, buttons, and components. Next up is brand positioning. And this is all about, determining how you want your brand to be perceived in the market and kind of asking yourself what unique benefits does your brand offer and how does it compare to competitors? So I think the sort of car manufacturer market is quite a good place to kind of look at brand positioning because they have this vary of price and this variety of quality, So, if you're looking for something high quality but at a high price, you could look for Mercedes. Whereas if you want to find something that's a little bit lower price, and obviously that comes with a little bit lower in quality, then Kia might be the car for you. So just understanding where your brand is positioned in the market and then talking to that audience appropriately. Next up is brand message. So this is all about developing a clear and consistent message that communicates your brand's values, mission, and personality. And this messaging should align with your brand values and connect with your audience. So there's a lot of messaging that I could refer to, but the thing that comes to mind instantly is Apple with their line "Think Different," and that was a line that was launched in the 80s with a TV advertising campaign. And, this really does align with their brand values and connects with the audience around, using Apple to really think different. Content marketing. So, this is all about creating valuable and relevant content that educates, entertains, or solves problems for your audience. And consistent content helps to establish your brand as an authority in your industry. So just an example here from Coke, this was all about sharing a Coke. So you were able to actually personalize the labels on the bottles, and that then enables you to really get involved with the brand and share a Coke with your family and friends. And, that was a really valuable piece of content for Coca-Cola, and it's all about kind of togetherness and, sharing a Coke with your loved ones. Customer experience. So this is all about delivering exceptional customer experiences at every touch point. So whether that's product quality, right down to customer service, positive interactions build trust and loyalty. And an example that came to mind straight away was John Lewis partnership in the UK, and they have John Lewis stores and Waitrose supermarkets, and the John Lewis is just very well renowned for exceptional customer service, and people often go there just because they know they're going to get good service from the brand and be looked after. Next up is an area that is very important and is often kind of overlooked in some ways with brand building, but social media and online presence is essential these days to maintain an active and engaging presence on social media and other online channels. This really helps you connect with your audience, share your brand story, and gather feedback. And it just allows you to stay in touch with your audience and respond and change and pivot whenever you need to, with that instant connection with your audience. GoPro is a really good example of this. Their Instagram page has all of this amazing content using the GoPro technology. So they have videos and images taken by GoPros. But what's really nice is that they have a photo of the day, where they post a photo every single day, which uses the GoPro technology. And it gives you pro tips about how you can capture the same thing. But it's just great that they use social media as a way of constantly talking to the audience and rewarding their audience with displaying their content on their social media channels. Community building is also important for brands, and this is really to foster a sense of community around your brand. So encourage customer interaction and engagement, and consider hosting events or forums where customers can connect. So again, there's lots of examples, and I've just picked out Starbucks here, where it's all about keep it brewing, and they're giving back to the community. Like I mentioned before, consistency is vital for brand building, to ensure that your brand's messaging, visual identity, and customer experience are consistent across all channels and interactions. And consistency really reinforces your brand's image and reliability. So just a quick example here from Netflix. This is actually a fairly old example, but when they launch a show, they often promote across various digital platforms. And as you can see here, each message and each asset has this consistency of brand So, just staying true to their brand messaging and visual identity. Next up is monitor and adapt. So this is about continuously monitoring customer feedback, the market trends, and your brand's performance. So be ready to adapt your brand strategy as needed to stay relevant and competitive. And what I thought was quite a nice example was Spotify a few years ago realized that they had to adapt their visual identity. So their global brand director said that our visual identity did not accurately reflect who we are as a company, nor was it one that was particularly relevant for connecting to our audience. Yes, we are a technology brand, but we're also a music brand, and we wanted our identity to reflect our connection to music culture. We wanted a more expansive and expressive visual language that allows Spotify to amplify content in a more interesting and dynamic way. So what I really liked about this was that they know who they are, and they changed and they adapted their visual identity to reflect that. So, really knowing that they're a technology brand, but also knowing that they're a music brand and they have to have this connection back to music culture. I think it's great that they were able to monitor their brand and then adapt accordingly. Another really important thing is to invest in brand equity. So building a strong brand takes time and resources, and investing in activities and brand campaigns that contribute to long-term brand equity is vital, rather than focusing solely on short-term gains. And Coca-Cola is a really good example of this. They have this very distinctive red and white, which they've built over the years. They've got very distinctive logo and typography. And of course, the Coca-Cola bottle is iconic. And they haven't compromised this over the years. They've had this branding and they've kind of changed things and adapted things slightly, but they've really invested in brand equity so that they have that really strong brand identity. And then finally, measure and analyze. So, use key performance indicators to track the impact of your brand building efforts. So, analyze data to understand what's working and what needs improvement. And that comes back to that idea of monitor and adapt, by using data and analyzing how your brand is performing. So brand building is an ongoing process that requires dedication, creativity, and a deep understanding of your target audience. A strong brand can differentiate your business from competitors, create customer loyalty, and drive long-term success. And a really important part of that, which we've touched on briefly, is brand identity. And I suppose as a designer, and a head of design, brand identity is very important to me. So a brand identity is the visual, emotional, and cultural representation of a brand. It encompasses all the visual and sensory elements that help customers recognize, distinguish, and form perceptions about a brand. A strong brand identity is a crucial component to brand building and marketing, as it helps establish a brand's presence, communicate its values, and create a lasting impression on its target audience. So again, there's a lot of components and considerations for brand identity, but here are just a few of them. And obviously, starting on the logo, which I think is the most recognizable element of a brand identity. It's a unique symbol or design that represents the brand and is used on all brand materials, all products, and all marketing collateral. So, a very well-known example of a famous logo is Amazon. I could pick any famous logos out in the world at the moment, but Amazon is one that I see regularly, whether it's on packages that myself or my wife have ordered, or whether it's the delivery lorries going around with the Amazon logo on it. It's a really recognizable element of the brand identity, and they use it consistently across everything. Color palette. So brands typically have a set of colors associated with their identity, and these colors are used consistently across all brand materials and communications. So color choices can evoke specific emotions and associations, so they need to be chosen wisely and have some reason behind them. So just as an example here, Things like Mercedes and Apple, they tend to use very neutral colors, and that has that sense of balance and calm. Whereas things like Amazon or Orange or EasyJet, they use an orange color palette, which is friendly and cheerful and exudes confidence. Whereas, red for Coca-Cola and Nintendo is all about excitement and youthfulness, and it's bold. Whereas something blue, for example, for NHS or Oral-B is all about trust, and being dependable, and that idea of strength. So, color can really symbolize of different things, whether that's a specific emotion or an association, which is held with your brand. Next up is typography, and the choice of fonts and typography styles is important for conveying a brand's personality and message. Different font styles can evoke feelings of professionalism, creativity, or friendliness. And a good example of that recently was the BBC. They used Gill Sans for years and years, but then they actually created their own bespoke typeface called BBC Wreath. And this was in the new face of the BBC. And they had various different styles to inform, educate, and entertain. And had this font which was fit for all its audiences, but crucially, it had to be legible and functional to work across all of its different touch points. And interestingly, that font that was created was then worked into their master logo and their brand identity, with the BBC blocks. Next up is imagery and photography. So the use of specific imagery, photography styles, and visual elements in branding really help to create a cohesive and recognizable look and feel. There's various ways you could do that. It could be photographic styles, or it could be a visual treatment. And a good example of that recently was for Spotify, where they started to introduce this duotone effect. So whenever you kind of saw this this visual style related with music, you would start to think about Spotify, and you would start to see this visual style in all of its touch points. Slogans and taglines. So a catchy kind of slogan or a tagline can be part of a brand identity, providing a concise and memorable way to communicate the brand's message or values. A really famous one was obviously Nike with "Just Do It." That's been a very iconic tagline for them for years. And some people use taglines very confidently. Some people have taglines or kind of brand promises that they use internally rather than externally. But these slogans or taglines can be a really important part to a brand identity. Voice and tone. So the way a brand communicates, whether it's through copy or advertising or customer interactions, can really contribute to its brand identity. So a brand's voice or tone should align with its values and target audience. And again, Oatly is a really good example of how they use their voice and use their sort of language to create a tone of voice for their brand. So this example here, they realized that they were behind when it comes to paper straws. So they put out an ad with "We Suck," just a very sort of knowing piece of work with a tone of voice that it's quite quirky, it's quite fun, but it's also it really aligns with their brand values and their target audience. Packaging design. So for consumer products, packaging design is a significant aspect of brand identity. The packaging should reflect the brand's aesthetics and messaging. So a good example of that again is Toblerone. So using that sort of triangle form. This is all about it was established and made in Switzerland. So they've used the Swiss Alps and the mountain ranges, and used that as a way of creating that shape that's very distinctive for Toblerone. Brand guidelines. So brands often create comprehensive brand guidelines or style guides to ensure consistent use of all those elements across various media and marketing channels. And these guidelines really help maintain brand integrity. So, whether that's the typeface or the color palette or the logo or the photographic style, everything should be captured in these brand guidelines. And it's a really good resource for people that work at those companies to know how to use their brand confidently and consistently. Then there's the brand story and values. So part of a brand's identity is the narrative it tells about its origins, mission, and values. This story can resonate with customers or consumers and create these emotional connections. So Lego, for example, have this really good um, sort of breakdown of who they are as a brand. So their belief is, children are our role models. Their mission is to inspire and develop builders of tomorrow. Their vision is to be a global force for learning through play. And then they have these really brilliant values of imagination and fun and creativity and caring, learning and quality. So these brand values are integral to their brand and how they put themselves out in the world. And I think these are great values to stand by. And then there's the overall design aesthetics. So, this is all about the design aesthetics of marketing materials, websites, or even physical spaces. And these should all align with the brand's identity. And these include layouts and graphics and visual hierarchy. So, a good example of an overall design aesthetic for a brand is something like Cadbury. They've really owned the color purple. They have this sense of quality. They want you to know that this is really good chocolate and it's tasty. So they talk about this glass and a half of milk. And whenever you see it on the shelf, it's Cadbury's, and more often than not, you will buy that for its quality and its brand associations. So jumping into design, so design plays a critical role in brand building by creating a visual identity that communicates a brand's values, personality, and unique attributes. Design can help establish a strong and memorable brand identity, differentiate a brand from competitors, and evoke specific emotions or associations in the minds of consumers. So that was the opening to a lot of the Disney films. And I think what's great about that is that whenever you see that, that there's going to be magic, and you're going to sit down and watch something of quality. And Disney have really established that feeling of Disney magic over the years, and it's something that I find really inspiring. It's something that I'm starting to introduce to my children. We watch a lot of Disney films, we watch a lot of Disney shows, and it's something that we can just really share together through nostalgia, but also introducing them to these new films and TV shows. And I thought Disney would be quite a good case study to use to show how design can contribute to brand building. This is more about the immediate kind of brand building efforts that go into Disney Plus. So it's not necessarily about the heritage of Disney, but more about how they have evolved into where they are now. So, in terms of design and brand building, visual identity is the cornerstone of a brand and how you can build that brand. And a well-designed logo is obviously integral to that. It serves as a symbol that instantly represents the brand. A memorable logo can help customers recognize and remember your brand along or amongst a sea of competitors. So, obviously Disney have a bit of a benefit in that it's a brand with a lot of heritage, and it's well known and well loved. But they did have to evolve that branding into Disney Plus. But they also had acquired a lot of content and a lot of companies along the way, so they had to find a way to kind of work in Pixar and Marvel and Star Wars and National Geographic. So this was a really good opportunity for Disney to start to bring all of them together into one sort of Disney Plus world. So design consistency across all brand touchpoints is also vital, and this includes websites, packaging, marketing material, social media, and this all reinforces brand recognition and trust. So consistent use of colors, fonts, and design elements creates a cohesive and professional image. So again, Disney Plus had to really unite all of their brand and unite all of their content through a consistent design system. And we'll dig into this a little bit deeper as we go through. But you can see that they've started to work in this consistency of brand elements. Again, how they've used that through out of home advertising across billboards, and then how they've used that plus icon as a way of uniting their content in a clever way. Then using that plus symbol as a way to animate through content, using elements of it to list content and then bring things to life across various different screens. Uniqueness is also essential to have an effective design that can set your brand apart from competitors. So unique design elements can help customers remember your brand and associate it with specific qualities or values. So again, Disney have all of this amazing content, these timeless classics, but also these modern movies. So it's really doubling down on that nostalgia, but then using that brand element to kind of bring it all together. Emotion is also something that comes into design, and design has the power to evoke emotions and create a connection with the audience. So whether that's through color or imagery or typographic choices, this can all convey feelings such as trust and excitement or nostalgia. Emotional connections can really foster brand loyalty. And again, that's what Disney do really well. They do emotion well through their content, and often through how they market their content and promote their content. But they've started to work through this design system to really remind people why they love this content so much, and really doubling down on the emotional side. So clarity in design is also very important when it comes to brand building. Clean and well organized design systems help to communicate professionalism and clarity. It helps to convey messages and information clearly to an audience, making it easier for them to understand and engage with your brand. So, using Disney Plus again as a way to show how they've used that plus icon to then display content and the depth of content that they have on offer. And then to kind of build that out even further, they've got this customizable box where you can start to animate it and bring it to life. And, you can start to change the text within the box, and it's all responsive and it's all changeable. And it just kind of helps to bring a really clean and well organized design system together. Which then, when you start to use it with content, you've got all of these components that really help you to bring it through consistently. Storytelling. So obviously Disney are masters at storytelling, but design can also be used to visually tell a story of your brand. So whether that's through imagery or visuals, you can convey the brand's history, their mission, their values, and the problems that it solves. So, again, kind of using that design system to show all of their different content and uniting them together. And then posing that question back to the audience about, diving in and really enjoying their content. Experience. So for brands and products, user experience design is crucial. An intuitive and user-friendly interface enhances the overall brand experience, increasing customer satisfaction and loyalty. And obviously, Disney Plus being a streaming service, they need to have a very intuitive UI and something that people want to come back to and, clearly and easily find the content that they want to watch. So, brand experience becomes even more important with Disney Plus, because it becomes more of an online experience. So having that sort of ease and intuitiveness becomes really important. Adaptability. So effective design should be able to adapt to various media platforms and media spaces easily. So whether that's print materials through to digital channels or social media, it should maintain its impact and consistency across different formats. So, just taking those design elements for Disney Plus and then starting to work that into their social media presence. So these are just examples from their Instagram page. So how it works with a static form, how it comes to life in motion, and then how they can use simple imagery. But also how that can work across different shapes and formats. So, an example here of perhaps a kind of wider banner format or a billboard format, and how they can start to bring messages and imagery into those different formats using the same design and design system that's been established. Community, we touched on this before, but this is all about encouraging customer interaction and engagement, and considering events or forums for customers to connect. So they have Disney Plus Day, which is kind of an annual day, or sometimes it's a week, where they reveal exclusive content and launch new shows or new movies. They also sometimes offer a free week for people to enjoy Disney Plus. And that's something that they promote every year, and it almost sort of creates a bit of a community around it. They've also looked at Pride in the past, so each month, celebrating Pride and really standing with that community and supporting, inclusive and diverse and authentic storytellers. Recognition and recall, so a strong brand design aids in brand recall and recognition. So customers who have positive experiences with your brand are more likely to remember and choose your brand when making decisions. So, obviously Disney Plus has that recognition and recall, but they also need to inform their customers that there's more on offer. There's Pixar, there's Marvel, there's Star Wars, there's National Geographic. It's not just Disney cartoons. So again, kind of using that design system to unite everything and have that recognition and recall. But also branding and evolution. Every brand needs to evolve over time, and that's exactly what Disney have had to do here. So design can also facilitate rebranding efforts when a brand needs to evolve or refresh its image. So carefully planned redesigns can breathe new life into a brand while preserving its core values. And, as we've gone through, this is what Disney Plus have done recently. They had to evolve and they had to have this new strategy around global growth and really creating a place where people can enjoy the Disney content and everything else that they have to offer. Of course, that comes with a guide or a guidelines. So that's all about brand evolution, global positioning, and the tone of voice. Just a caveat, I didn't work on that project. I had nothing to do with it, but I thought it was a very good example of how recently a brand has used design to launch a new brand and also evolve an existing brand. So in summary, design is a powerful tool for brand building that goes beyond aesthetics. It helps create a brand identity that is not only visually appealing, but also emotionally resonant and memorable. A well-executed design strategy can enhance brand recognition, trust, and loyalty, ultimately contributing to the long-term success of a brand. And, we touched on rebranding, and I think it's probably a good opportunity to kind of look at an example of that, because design can, really facilitate rebranding efforts when it needs to evolve or refresh its image. And that was something that we as a team did recently with the TV channel Dave in the UK. So UKTV were tasked with the challenge of creating a fresh new look and feel for the Dave channel, which was originally launched in 2007. So to freshen things up, we created a whole new suite of brand assets, starting with an evolution of the Dave logo. So what we did was we looked at, what the brand looked like at the time. So, this was when it was kind of refreshed in 2014. So it felt quite dark and there was a lot of black and white. It felt quite masculine. And we had to really sort of refresh and you know, liven up this brand and make it just feel a bit more diverse and inclusive. So the first thing we did was to look at the logo. So we also wanted to invest in the kind of brand equity that had been built up over the years. So we didn't want to change the logo type too much. So we made just some slight tweaks to the logo type, but we also housed it in this lozenge, which then informed a lot more of the brand system to come. So, we took the Dave logo and we kind of tweaked it slightly to, just refresh the master brand, which, like I said, it kind of opened up more opportunities when it came to building the brand and really rebranding across various different touch points. So, we looked at a different typeface, which was a lot more expressive. We looked at some slightly different logo variations, really utilizing that lockup, that sort of lozenge lockup. We also looked at how we could use the kind of lozenge or the box aspect across different messaging and across imagery. And we also built out a color palette which felt a lot more bright and vibrant and diverse. So, it just created something that felt a lot more fresh. It felt a lot more kind of quirky. It resonated better with our content, which was primarily comedy. It also allowed us to be a little bit more everyday with all of these everyday textures, and bring in a lot more expressive type and vibrant colors into the brand. It also allowed us to kind of break out all of these different design assets, and kind of create a bit of a toolkit. So, we had a tone of voice, we had our master logo, we had these background textures, we had this new vibrant color palette, a typeface that was a lot more expressive, a graphic language which we could start to use a lot more consistently across the brand, brand behavior which was rooted in comedy, this everyday life location so that it felt really relatable, and then working sound into all of that as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? Are you ready? Get ready, no. Get ready. Get ready. Unwrap the tent. Can you rock it like rockets? Close and what kind? Can you rock it like rocket fuel?
And then, as you can see, it moves from where we were with old Dave, which felt quite neutral and quite kind of stale into this kind of bright, vibrant new Dave, where we can actually start to open up the design system and have something that's a lot more confident and bold and expressive. So that was just an example of a rebrand, but just jumping into you know, brands that I guess could be considered as successful brands over time. And, determining the most successful brand identity can be subjective and dependent on various factors, including industry, target audience, and the brand's specific goals. However, some well-known brands have developed highly successful brand identities that are often cited as examples of excellence in branding. So I've just included a few noteworthy examples. The first one is Apple. That's kind of top of my list, and that's mainly because it's the simplicity of Apple's brand identity. They're known for their minimalist design, their sleek product aesthetics, and their clean, uncluttered marketing materials. They're also known for innovation, so they're synonymous with innovation and cutting-edge technology, and their brand identity conveys a sense of forward thinking and excellence in design and functionality. But they also have this cohesiveness from product design to packaging and advertising. Apple maintains a consistent and instantly recognizable brand identity. Next up is Coca-Cola, which we've touched on before, but it's such an iconic logo. The Coca-Cola logo is one of the most recognizable logos in the world. It's remained largely unchanged for over a century, and that really emphasizes the power of the timeless design that Coca-Cola really has and has established over the years. But they've also developed this emotional connection. So Coca-Cola's brand identity is built on themes of happiness and sharing and nostalgia. So its marketing campaigns often evoke strong emotional connections with consumers. Then we have Nike. So obviously their swoosh logo is iconic as well. It's simple yet powerful, and it represents movement and speed. It's a perfect example of how a symbol can become synonymous with a brand. They're also known for athletic excellence, so their brand identity is associated with sports and athleticism and the pursuit of excellence. And they also have, like we've touched on previously, just a very iconic slogan. Their "Just Do It" slogan has become something that really resonates with their audience, particularly in the world of sports and athletics. But, it's just something that has stayed with them for years and years, and something that everybody knows and loves. Then there's Google. And Google are known for their clarity. So, their brand identity is built on clarity and user friendliness. The simplicity of its logo and user interface reflects the brand's commitment to making information accessible. They're also known for innovation. So their frequent updates and innovations across its products, really reinforces an image of being forward thinking and being a trusted technology company. Then there's Disney, and we've touched on Disney a lot, but their brand is all about magic and wonder. They've created that idea of Disney magic, and their brand identity is all about magic, wonder, and storytelling. And it evokes a sense of nostalgia while also appealing to new generations. But they also have all of these characters that they've developed over the years. They've got a cast of beloved characters such as Mickey Mouse and Cinderella, and they're integral to its brand identity. And then finally, we've got McDonald's. Again, it's a really iconic and globally recognized logo. With the golden arches of the McDonald's logo being recognized worldwide. They symbolize the brand's presence and consistency, but also experience. McDonald's know who they are, and their brand identity is associated with fast and convenient and affordable food. So success in branding often goes beyond visual elements and includes aspects like customer experience and brand values and market positioning. Additionally, what constitutes success may vary from one brand to another. The brands mentioned here, they've successfully built strong brand identities that resonate with their target audience and have stood the test of time. However, success in branding is an ongoing process that requires adaptability and responsiveness to changing consumer and marketing dynamics. And, I guess a cautionary tale is don't be a Blockbuster Video or a Kodak or a BlackBerry. They didn't really change with the market or the consumer needs, and sadly, they didn't last. Blockbuster Video, for instance, it was really sad to see all of the stores closing down and emptying, and all the branding just completely lost. I used to love Blockbuster Video as a child, and it was just a shame that they didn't move with the times like Netflix did, and really evolve their brand and build their brand for the future. So just a quick case study to finish up with, and this is a project that I worked with quite a few years ago with Sony PlayStation. And their branding felt quite dated. They had this multicolored swoosh line, which didn't really feel very confident or recognizable. They also had all of these different products that they were launching. So they had PlayStation 2 and PlayStation Portable and other brands that were launching in the market that just had slightly different identities to each other, and there wasn't this kind of cohesion that most big brands need these days. So following a creative pitch, we were appointed by Sony to visually assert the PlayStation's brand's iconic status. And our response was a very simple, powerful solution, which put the PlayStation logo at the heart of the brand, establishing a clear brand hierarchy. So, they had this PS mark, this logo, which is instantly recognizable. Everyone knows it, everyone loves it. So what we did was we worked it back into the logo so that we had this kind of clear brand architecture of, PlayStation with their brands, and this worked with their, PlayStation consoles, but also with a lot of their additional sub brands. So whether that's online stores or, even their master brand in PlayStation. And then you start to see it with the product, and it just feels a lot more confident. You instantly see the PlayStation mark, and you don't need to do a lot of work to know what brand you're looking at. And this was supported by a strong brand color and a vibrant and dynamic rendering of the PlayStation shapes. So this was at a time when Xbox was green and Nintendo was red and white. And as you saw before, PlayStation had this kind of multicolored color palette that they were using, and it just didn't feel very iconic. So we looked at colors that weren't really being used in that space, and we landed on blue, and that felt perfect for PlayStation. So we actually started to look at working blue into the master brand, and then they had these iconic shapes with the circle and the cross and the triangle and the square. So then we looked at how we could render those shapes into, again, something that was iconic and recognizable, and this is where we landed. So this was back in 2008, but, looking at how we can be confident with the brand mark and then start to work in those shapes that are also very iconic, and rooting it in this blue world that felt really confident and consistent. And then how that works through, online experiences like the PlayStation Store, and how that could work on packaging for controllers and consoles. How that could work in store, and how that can work across packaging as well, and how that can work across digital environments and social media. So again, just having that consistency of having this blue world and having the PlayStation mark visible at as many opportunities as possible, but also working in those iconic shapes, which then kind of gives you this brand that feels a lot more confident and consistent, through marketing, off air, through digital experiences, and through in-store and packaging. And then, of course, bringing the brand to life. So, they promote a lot of these games and consoles through TV commercials. So we actually animated the shapes that flew towards you and then revealed that iconic PlayStation logo. We also created sonic branding. So this came with a little ping noise. So again, if you heard that, it would remind you of the brand. And it's just another asset that kind of helps to build the iconic PlayStation brand. And as you can see here, with big launch events, it just becomes something that is instantly recognizable, and hopefully something that will help PlayStation build their brand for years to come. This was created back in 2008 and it's still going strong. So hopefully it's something that's going to last for years to come. So just some quick key takeaways. I know we've gone into a lot of detail, but it's probably good to touch on some final takeaways. So just remember, when it comes to brand building, your brand is much more than just a logo, a slogan, or a product. It's an emotional connection, a promise, and a perception that can drive customer loyalty, trust, and advocacy. Remember that consistency is key. Consistency is the backbone of effective branding. It builds recognition and trust, and it makes it easier for audiences to choose you over your competitors. Try to use storytelling, because stories have the ability to engage, inspire, and humanize your brand. They create an emotional bond for your audience, allowing them to see themselves and align with your values. Try and be digital first. It's critical to recognize the role of online and social media in brand building. They provide a platform to connect with your audience, share your brand story to a global audience. And of course, long-term success. So brands should evolve as your business grows and adapts to changes in the market. So embrace innovation, listen to your consumers or your customers, and be willing to evolve while staying true to your core values. So those are just a few final takeaways. And a bit of a summary of a lot of the information that I've gone through. But brand building really offers many opportunities for those who are willing to invest time, creativity, and dedication. And your brand is your most valuable asset. And with the right strategy and commitment, it can stand the test of time and leave a lasting impression on your audience. So thank you so much for listening. I hope this has been helpful. And feel free to get in touch if you want to know any more. Thank you very much.